Go ahead. You got 6 people in the room, 4 likes. Thank you guys so much for those. And I'm excited about tonight's show, man. As you can see who the guest is, it's not like I can pop them in here, pop them out. Y'all know who it is, man. Everybody knows who TB Trucker Brown is. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited about the discussion. In case you're rewatching this, what we're going to kind of go over, we're going to talk about OTR, local, lease purchase, regional, all of the different types of truck driving, and we're going to discuss those types and the differences and what's where we're kind of at with the market on things. We're going to talk about the port strikes and unions and different things of that nature as well. We're going to go into some of that, and we're going to be talking about wages for truck drivers, man. And we're just going to get down to the nitty gritty. We're going to get down to exactly what needs to be said, man. And I believe Trucker Brown is an advocate, man, and for truck
Mm.
drivers, and legitimately cares about truck drivers as well as like fair wages for truck drivers. And he's been covering that on his channel. But you go ahead, Trucker Brown. Tell us about how you doing tonight. Tell us where we can find you, where your different socials are at.
Well, usually people can find me on the YouTube channel Trucker Brown. I'm also the real Trucker Brown on Instagram, Trucker Brown on TikTok, and I'm TB Uncut on Rumble. I do enjoy my Rumble because you have complete freedom of speech on there, and
Mhm.
YouTube as truckers we have a little bit of a crass humor, so
Yeah,
we can't
we
really
gotta
be
filter it
ourselves
on
as
YouTube, man. You gotta
yeah,
filter it on
yeah.
YouTube.
Not on Rumble. Also, Rumble gives you 100% notification. So if you're not building your Rumble, I hope you start so you can make sure you have another place just in case you get canceled or something.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it can happen. But that's really where you
for
can
sure.
find me at.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, it's good to hear, man. And I think for maybe some people who might know who you are, and there's going to be some people who don't know who you are, and I don't usually ask people this question because I feel like it's like the most boring question in the world. But your origin story, where you came from, what were you doing? Everybody's got the same like, I went to trucking school for 4 weeks. I got out of trucking school, but I've kind of heard different pieces of your story, like what you were doing before trucking, how you got into trucking, and why,
Mm.
and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's important for people to hear your story, man. I feel
Well,
differently about you about that. So you go ahead, tell us kind of what was your way into trucking.
before trucking, I was nothing, man. I was homeless, drug user. I was just I was just letting it fly, just being young, having fun, and doing nothing. And then I tried to get in around 21 years old. I tried to do trucking because my father was a trucker and my stepfather drove trucks. But I had messed my license up. So what ended up happening was I would check with CR England every year, and they'd be like, "No, try next year. No, try next year." And then one year they said yes. So I just with $50, I just got on the Greyhound from Washington D.C. to Gary, Indiana in 2013, and I went through the whole situation. I bought like a bunch of oodles and noodles. I didn't have any money or anything like that, and I just ate oodles and noodles. Got through the situation. Had a terrible trainer, and that's how it all started. And I didn't really start doing videos seriously until about 9 years ago. Is when I really started. I gave myself a couple of years to figure out exactly what was going on first, and then I started doing videos on a regular basis. Like when I started YouTube, I didn't even know you could get paid. Like I was just doing it to be doing it, to be honest. And I just
Mhm.
kept going and going and going and going and going. And I was a little more, what's the word? A little more outspoken then, because I mean I was 26, I was younger, but I was just basically complaining about things in the industry, and here I am. That's all. That's how it started.
So do you was that your first time into the Midwest, or had you traveled before that, or you know?
I mean, as a kid, we drove to California and stuff, but it's not like
Okay.
traveling as an adult.
Right,
You're just
right.
you're just in the back eating bologna sandwiches out the cooler. You don't really get to do anything. So as an adult, yeah, it was my first time actually seeing places on my own, and it was an eye opener. It was an eye opener. And it helped me,
Yeah.
you know, it helped me understand how nice the state is that I come from. I come from Virginia, and then I got
Mhm.
to some of these other states, and it was like, holy shit, this place is terrible. Like the roads are bad. And, what's going on? Like, but other
These
than that, it was
restaurants are just dirty,
yeah,
like
they're just
filthy,
dirty.
disgusting. Yeah, bro, like West Virginia. Like,
Oh
bro,
my
dude,
gosh, yeah.
dude, bro. Oh man, yeah,
West
dude.
Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana. You're just like, man, this place looks bad. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I, I,
See,
I learned some
what
stuff.
that's better than me because I probably had been. My grandparents had lived in they had a house down in Florida, and I'd been to Florida, I'd been to Disney World and stuff like that, but I had
Hmm.
been to maybe, like, 5 states, but I'd never traveled anything coast to coast even growing up, but I'd been on a plane, I'd been on an
Hmm.
airplane before as a kid, and multiple times as a kid flying down to Florida for spring, like, not college spring break, but, like, little kid
Yeah.
spring break, going
Yeah,
to Disney
grandma's
World
house
kinda thing.
spring break.
At
Yeah.
grandma's house, like, playing in the pool with duckies and stuff, dude,
Right.
but, yeah, dude, so but I think it's good, man, 'cause you look at where you were before, and you look at where you are now, and it's a whole different ball game, and I can say, trucking changed my life, and this industry did, it set me up financially. Financially, it's bailed me out, like, in bad situations, two different times. One was through my divorce, and then another one was through when I was an owner operator, and just at the bottom of the bottom, and just working back out of the hole again, man. Getting back out of debt, doing all that kind of stuff, and I always say that I've said this before, man, but I'm gonna say it again, our past mistakes don't have to define the future of our success. And I'm just thankful for that, man. And I'm thankful for the truck. And I love truck drivers, man. I think they're a lot of hardworking people in this country. And I'm thankful for all truck drivers for sure, man. So, but you've done a lot of different trucking jobs, trucking companies. You've
Yeah.
dabbled in a little bit. You've been how many years have you been a truck
I've
driver?
been driving about 12 years now.
12 years, so
Yeah.
over a decade, man, and,
Yep.
so you've kinda had your hands in a couple uh, different career paths within trucking. Um
Yeah, I fell hook, line, and sinker in 2014 for the uh the lease to prosperity scam. I
Mhm.
really fell head over heels for that. And I have my own thought process on that. I don't think all leases are bad. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
I really fell head over heels for that. But I've done reefer, flatbed, dry van, oversized, step deck, food grade, tanker, hop, oil field. I've had my hands in almost damn near everything you can have your hands in. I've never did a hazmat. I still think hazmat is a risk that I wasn't willing to take. I wasn't interested in doing, but I haven't done
Mhm.
that yet. I'm probably not
Okay.
going to do that, to be honest.
What do you what do you think? Because you've done a lot of different things. We're gonna start with the differences between OTR and local, and I'll tell you why I wanna talk about this, because people comment on my channel all the time. They see where I'm regional, I'm gone through the week, home on the weekends, and I got this guy that the dude, the local guy who comments on your channel, and he's like, well, I'm driving 250 miles a day, hauling styrofoam cups, making 250K a year.
Mhm.
There's that one guy, who's like saying that. And so like, like, tell us like what your experiences is like with local versus OTR, and kind of like what the difference is there for you. And I've done local, and I can speak on it, but I want you to kind of tell us your thoughts on it
um,
and get into
local,
that.
local. I have a few different thought processes on local. Local, I believe, for people who went to private school. I really believe that because if you go through private school, you're not spoiled by the great American freedom that is OTR. So if I would have went to
Yeah.
private school and they would have came up to me and they would have said something like Coca-Cola, waste management, or Old Dominion type of or mail, and they would have told me that from jump, Me coming from the beginning, I would have thought this is great, but I
Mhm.
was spoiled by the freedom of OTR. So when I go to a local job, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's enjoyable. I think that I feel like I drive more miles local because
Mm.
they basically they have it completely farmed out for you to do your whole shift every single day. And the truth is, if you're OTR, you're not doing your whole shift every day.
All
You
right.
also
Right.
pick when you get up. If someone like you, if I tell you, hey man, you're going into Houston, Texas, but the load is open and ended. It's a drop and hook. You can go in there, park, go to Pompano's, eat some crawfish, eat some chill, go over to the mall, check out some different things, and then go to your favorite truck stop, pass out, go to sleep. But
Right. Yeah.
with local, it is so regimented. It just didn't fit. Um, it didn't fit what OTR set me up for. I
Mhm.
enjoy OTR, and when they give you local and they're just like, here you go, $25 an hour, but I'm gonna run you until you die. I just don't think it's enjoyable. I always hear guys saying, I want to go local, but I really don't think they understand that you're trained and conditioned when you go through OTR to be OTR. Like you don't want to have someone tell you, hey, listen, get up 4 o'clock in the morning every day. Period. Most of the time, it's 6 days a week. No one ever brings that up.
Mhm.
You're gonna get off. The yard is always 25 minutes away from your house, so you're losing that
Oh yeah,
hour.
dude. You gotta still drive. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
drive there. You're gonna get home. You're gonna kiss your old lady. You're gonna see your kid. You're gonna watch one TV show. You're gonna fall asleep, and you're really only hours in the sleeper. Then you got to wake up again tomorrow at 4 and do it all over again. So they think, oh, I'm gonna be home, I'll have time with my family, and the truth is, half the time that's not true. It's not true, bro.
Mhm.
You're still coming home and crashing. So I
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
thought that it was. I didn't think it was so much better than OTR because everybody I know when you first got in the industry, I'm only gonna do this for a year, then I'm gonna go local, and it's like,
Mhm.
dude, no, you're not. Because why would you give your great American freedom up to go? I really feel like it's not all of them. Let's get his career. We're not talking about UPS, even though that's
Yeah.
a rough.
Yeah. Let's not.
It's a rough life, but you make a lot of money. We're
Yeah.
not
Yeah. You
talking
do,
about
man.
Old Dominions. We're damn sure not talking about the fuel hauler playboys that are out there living the life. Of course, we're not talking about those people. But if we're just talking about getting a regular local job, it cannot compare to OTR. OTR is way better lifestyle.
Mhm.
If now I'll put this on there, if you know what you're doing. Because if you suck at
Yeah.
running your clock, you hate OTR. Like if you know how to run your
Yeah.
clock, you can have a lot of fun OTR. So I
If you
never thought it was dope.
I think also too, man. This is. I've worked local. I did the 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 Pepsi Coke. The Coke local driver stuff.
Hmm.
Bro, you break your back doing that stuff, bro.
Oh,
I mean, I
it's
remember I
beautiful.
was like 24 and I would like come home with back problems, at
Mm.
24 years old doing it, man. And that killed me. Um, but it's just very interesting to me. And this is another thing I tell guys too. When you're at an OTR company, especially the larger it is, if you just work, pick up the load, and deliver on time, like, if you just do those 2 things, you're gonna be, like, the biggest rock star at that
Oh.
company. Like, you know what I mean, dude? You're like a gold member, like, VIP. If you are just a truck driver who can pick up on time, deliver
Hmm.
on time, do your basic function, and not kill anybody or wreck the truck or run anybody over or kill anybody's
Hmm.
dog, you're great, man. You're gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
doing fantastic. You don't need a YouTube channel, a TikTok channel. You just need to do your job at an
Just
OTR, like larger, medium, larger carrier, and they think your GM's gonna love you. They don't have to sit there
oh
and
yeah.
babysit you, like
Fire and
whereas
forget is the
local,
way it was told. Fire and forget. That's what it
yeah,
was to
man,
me. Fire and forget. If they
yeah,
set a
just
fire and then you call them 20 minutes later and say, "Hey man, it's raining,"
Yeah, dude.
It's like, dude,
And,
be quiet.
but here's another thing too, like, because your driver, like, leaders, sometimes they don't wanna answer the phone or they're too busy to answer the phone, whichever one it is. But they hire new drivers. So if a company hires new drivers, you have to be expected to hire babysitters in the office because they're not gonna know what
Right.
to do. So you wanna pay them cheap wages, that's fine. You wanna hire a rookie driver and pay them 48 cents a mile, whatever 50 cents a mile, whatever it is. That to me is like low wages, like for an OTR driver for
Mhm.
mileage. You wanna do that, that's fine, but you better expect your driver leaders to be babysitters, and you
Oh,
better
yeah.
prepare them for that. You can't just ignore their phone call because. So, I mean,
I
there's
agree.
all this give and take and how it goes. You want an experienced driver, you're gonna have to up the pay and have some kind of, like, incentive for a experienced driver to go OTR and be
And to
involved
stay
in
and
that.
to stay with you because I've been
Mhm.
driving 11 years. I've never crashed anything, never documented because I did a lot of
Right.
stupid shit in the oil field. So, but they don't really charge you in the oil field. You can just knock shit over. No one cares. But um,
Yeah.
I have no tickets. I have a clean record. But what I've noticed is the new system now is what did you do the last 2 years? So you having 12 years does not help you anymore. That's not gonna help you.
Oh, yeah.
If
You're
you're
you're topped out in 3, man. Like 3 to
two,
4
3,
years, you're yeah, uh-huh.
when you put an application in, they want to know how loyal was you for the past 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, yeah,
If I
yeah.
have 12 years and I hop to four different companies, that's worse than having an accident on your record. That's the new law of the land now.
Mhm,
They will tell you,
mhm.
"Oh, you've been too many places. You've been too many places. We can't do anything with you." But they will turn around and or they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'll hire you, but you got to go up this, you got to start here and go up the ladder, and once you're here for a year, you'll get more cents." It's all bullshit. The reason why drivers don't stay is because we don't make enough money to stay. This type of lifestyle should have a double benefit than somebody who's working a regular 9 to 5 at home because we're not home. That's why all the people when we were young and they drove trucks, they did it because they made hand over fist money compared to the factory. That's
Right,
why they did
right.
it. So they were like a factory job would get you $600 home back in the '90s, $700. They had buddies making $1,800, and that was crazy good money for 1994.
Mhm.
Now, you know, people don't feel like it's a huge benefit, so they jump jobs trying to find that job that's going to pay them a lot of money, and that's why we have the retention problem. You're not offering enough. Here's my rule. If you're OTR, you should be getting $2,000 a week. Period.
I agree. I did a video. I've said that in a video before too. If
That's
you're
real.
out 7 days, you need to be getting 2,000, man. That's 6
2,000 a week.
digits a year. You got 6
Easy.
digits, a solid 6 digits. You're doing that. That
And
should
that and
be
that
the
shouldn't even be
average.
bingo.
That should
If you're a
that should
rock
that should just
star,
be you should be what yeah,
way above
agreed.
that. Because
Yeah.
if I'm gone, because it falls back into the fact we're assuming have relationships, but it falls into the psyche of relationships. A lot of the reason why these relationships stayed together when you hear a dude raised a family and he was OTR for 40 years. Well, the money made sense for his sacrifice of being gone. So it kind of helped with helped with their situation. It's like, yeah, my old man's not here, but I have a fucking I have extra money. I have enough money to take the kids to football. We have like a dope Astro van. Like everything's good. Now we're
Mhm,
gone, and the house is falling apart financially. That's not going to work.
mhm.
It's
Yeah,
just
I
not going to
can't even
work.
keep the electric bill on. I can't, I'm this, I'm that. And,
Right.
and I think, like, for me, if like, for me, for the 2,000, like, it goes back to if you're picking up on time, you're delivering on time, you're accepting every load, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're within the time scales that you're being told to do it. If you're OTR 7 days a week, you need to be making 2,000. That's
Easy.
just like that should be like we've talked about the average pay. And it's definitely not. And to be honest, trucking is just in a bad place, and it's not just truck drivers, it's everybody. It's
Mhm.
the trucking company. There's a reason why, what is it, 33,000 is the new number now. I think everybody's going around saying that 33,000 companies have closed down over the last year or two or whatever. Um, the market, this is worse than the '07 recession. Is everybody who's been
Mhm.
in the game for a long time, from the high ups to the like owner op one truck guys, they're all saying like this is the worst I've ever seen it in my life because
Yeah.
it hasn't stopped. It's not been okay. Well, we've weathered the storm for 9 months or a year. This has been going on for 2 years. We're going on a
Yeah.
third year. It's like we have
It's
just
brutal.
been punched. Yeah, it's and for a lot of people they're hurting. And like another thing I say too when it comes to driver pay, particularly OTR, is that um, it's not just that they got a pay cut. It was like, or it not that just inflation rose and that like
Mhm.
we kept making the same because we had the same miles. Miles went down, inflation went up, like, and it was just kind of like your company drivers, lease purchase,
Yeah.
like, and your owner ops, everything.
Yeah.
Inflation went up, and our pay went down, like across the board. Office workers, their pay stagnated. Yeah, inflation's up,
Yeah.
and they might have taken their bonus away. They've
Mhm.
taken some bonuses away
Oh
from
yeah.
for whatever month, like yearly, quarterly bonuses or something. But I mean, for the most part, like truck driver pay has suffered, like
Oh, big
in a
time.
more real way than anybody else in the logistics industry.
It
So
well,
it's
cause the truth is, shit rolls down. Excuse me for cussing. Crap rolls downhill. And I tell
mhm,
drivers all the time when they talk to me on my lives, and they come in with this bravado as if I'm a skilled laborer. Not according to the industry, you're not. You're not considered
mhm.
a skilled laborer. A welder is considered a skilled laborer. You're not considered a skilled laborer. And I tell them, and this is going to be brutal, you're to trash to these people. That's the truth. You're expendable labor. You're not a part of society that would have the leverage to dispute anything. It's not like me and you work on Wall Street and we can just kind of, we really shouldn't be getting hosed like this, Mr. Clark. Like, we're not that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? In the
yeah, dude.
same, if you look at the same structure, if we're at Maryland Lynch, me and you are janitors. That is how they look at us. Now, if you were to look at the pay structure and bonus structure of janitors at Maryland Lynch compared to the people on the sales floor, totally freaking different.
All
That's
right.
how, and you have to understand that's how these people look at you. Once you understand it, I don't want you to feel bad about it. The reason why I want you to understand it is because when you talk to them, you'll understand their point of view. When you make a complaint to your company and you say, "Hey man, this is incorrect," they look at you and feel like you're not the class of person to discuss with me what is incorrect. That's how they feel. That's why when you talk to a DM and you say, "Hey, this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong," it doesn't get through. They're just like, "All right, we'll just do that. All right, I'll look into it. Just see it." And then they'll text you back the thing you're not supposed to do in the first place. They don't listen to you at all because you're not supposed to say something back. You should be happy that you're getting 70 grand a year, and that's it. That's what they expect. So when you show them that, first of all, you're a genius at freight if you've been driving for 4 years, and they show you a load and they say, "Beard, hey man, take this load from Vegas to Denver. You got to go over a mountain," and they book the load at 75 miles an hour, and you tell him that can't be done, and he's looking at you like, "Well, I got a driver the other day did it." No, he didn't. He did not drive over a mountain at 75 miles an hour and get
Yeah.
get
Computer
over
says
it.
you can make it. The computer says you can make it, dude.
It can't.
I have heard that, bro. Well, the computer says you should be able to do this fine,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
or like, just things, like yeah, 100%. And I want to kind of get into, um, I definitely want to, and who was this guy? Boo Junk, Bujunk, whatever your name is. He started CDL school tomorrow. I need some good news, not bad news. I want you to know, man. If you're working at a Walmart or you're working and you're making like 45K, 50K, your pay's gonna go up. There's hope for truck drivers. And I want to talk about trucker's voice. There's some things I'm gonna get into
Mhm.
just later on when we talk about the port strikes and truck drivers on trucker rights and stuff
Mm.
like that. I definitely want to get into that, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. So stay tuned, guys, for that. Um, you've been lease purchased a
Mhm.
few different times, and
Yep.
you've mentioned it briefly. So, and honestly, man, because I mean, on YouTube, I'm known as the lease purchase guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I embrace that, whatever, man, because I'm willing to talk about it. But I want you to give me, some advantages, some disadvantages. What do you feel like?
Um.
What I mean, obviously, if you've done it for any number of time, there had to be some kind of advantage for you to do it.
Oh
But I
yeah.
also want you to feel like what disadvantages and be authentic and real about that too, the pros
Um.
and cons, so people can get an idea about it.
Leasing ways you can look at it. First of all, the most money I've ever made in a lease was with a mega carrier. So that, oh, get lease and go to a small company is bullshit. That's a lie.
No,
Don't listen to
no.
that. That's just what dudes say to sound cool. That's not real. The regime is what I call the mega carriers. The Prime was the most money I ever made, and yes, you have to train there to make that kind of money. That was the most
Mhm.
money I ever made consistently. Um, per
They're
mile,
they're saying in the comment section, they're saying they can't hear you. Do you have access to your
I
volume at all?
those are trolls. I already had my people checked if they can hear me. They can hear me.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
that's
All right,
they
cool,
do that to mess with your thing. Is not real. But I had my wife listen to it. She said you're good. She says
man.
you're super loud and I'm okay. but
Okay. Okay.
uh but hold on, what is this? But the main thing you got to realize is when you're dealing with lease is, are you the type of person to lease? That's the bigger question. Most people ask, is lease good? That's the wrong question. Are you the type of person that should lease? That's the
Okay.
question. Like I went to one place and all the guys came up and said, they were like, all right, just give us your business account. And the guy said, what's that? And the guy was like, that's for us to give you your money. He was like, you can't use this account. They're like, no, this is a personal account. You need to have a business account. If you're a person that's going to sign up for a lease and you don't know what a business account is, you're not the type of person that should be leasing. It's that simple. Because if you don't know what a business account is, you don't know how to handle your taxes. You don't know how to handle your discounts and what you get on the road. You don't know how to handle your per diem tax wise. You don't know what your tax cuts are. So it adds up to, are you the right person to lease? And the problem is they're shoving people into lease that shouldn't be leasing.
Mhm, mhm,
That's the truth. It's not that leasing's bad. It's just that Bearded is better at it than you. Like he's the person for leasing. These
mhm,
people aren't. Most people, they should just be company. I would say, and this is going to be a terrible number, 89% of people who have a CDL should be company drivers.
mhm.
They should not be leasing a truck. And you figure that out because they don't have what's the word? They don't have anything in place. They believe the money that they get from a good week is theirs. So when I talk to a young guy and he says I'm leasing and I'm making $3,000 a week, you shouldn't be leasing. You're not making $3,000 a week because you didn't pay taxes. But they look at it as I'm making $3,000 a week. That's how I know you shouldn't be
Mhm,
leasing. You don't have the
mhm,
mind state to understand that your business made 3,000. You have expenditures, and you probably should be taking home out of that 3,000. You should be probably taking home $500. You can't explain that to them. So I believe that
mhm,
it does more damage than good when you give it to people that shouldn't have it. If you have the mind for it, leasing, there's a lot of advantages to it. Child support's one. They can't duck from it. A lot of guys have kids that are on child support and crazy baby mama situations. Leasing will nip all that shit in the bud, just like
mhm,
that. They will get the state minimum, which is about $100 a week, and they're just going to have to deal with it. So that helps.
mhm,
Another thing is too, you can write off damn near everything you want. You have a little bit more freedom to do, be more creative freedom with your taxes. So that
That's a
helps,
good
and
way
you
to
can,
put it. That's a
yeah,
that's a
that's
good way to creative freedom. I like that
yeah,
terminology. That's legal terminology right there.
yes, you have a little more creative freedom with that. Also, you can get more of your money before you pay taxes to make things happen. So if put it to you this way, well, and this is just a quick, I'm no tax guy, but I'm just saying if you're this type of person that is made for leasing and understands business and understand how to get credit, you would know that if you're trying to purchase a house, you would not deduct a bunch of things for a year or two to show you made a decent amount of money, even though they're going to say you're going to
Correct.
owe for you to purchase that house. And then when they say, oh my God, Beauty, you owe $20,000, and you would turn that house credit to knock that down and all that, you would know how to if it was for you. If you're just driving expecting to get a big check and you're living like you're personal, you should be company. And it is very hard to tell truckers this because truckers have wrapped up their ego in if I'm owner, op, lease, or company. It's all wrapped up in there. And it should not be that way. If you just
Hmm.
want to check every Friday, you should be a company driver.
Hmm.
If you get
Yeah.
mad that your check was negative $500, you shouldn't be a lease driver because that's going to happen.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
simple. If you
It's.
go home too long and your truck breaks down, you can get a negative check.
Mhm.
Most dudes quit when they get a
Yeah,
negative check.
and I think for me, when it comes to the child support system and stuff like that, I mean, um, showing on your taxes like, "Hey, I'm not gonna say how much I report to the IRS or whatever, but I mean, it's a fair amount, I think, to the
Creative.
I
Yeah.
I don't I'll tell you this, I never go in the negative to the IRS. I never showed that I lost money for the year for my business. I don't ever do that. I don't feel like that's good business practice to do.
No.
It almost, you don't
And
wanna
then
do
you
that,
turn around and
but
say, "Why can't I get a Peterbilt from the dealership?" Well, you
yeah,
went negative for
yeah,
5 years,
yeah.
bro. What I'm gonna leave you
Yeah,
alone?
I always report positive income to the IRS. But that's the biggest thing, though. I think the biggest advantage is there's other when and because some people are like, "Well, what about Social Security?" And you're not going to get anything for Social Security. It's not going to be there when I get old. It's just not. We're not having kids, so there's no hardly any generation after us that are paying into Social Security like we did,
Yeah.
and so like it's I don't even think it's going to be there, and
No.
so it's
And if
all
it
on
is, it
me.
won't make a difference. I mean,
It'll
the
make
average
it's
man.
$150 a month, maybe, like it.
Most people who get Social Security get like $800. What is that going to do right now?
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean that's good Social Security check right there, man. $800 is a good one, man. I
Where are
mean,
you going to
but
stay for $800?
yeah, yeah, exactly, man. I mean, but they're my grandpa told me this. And my grandpa was an extremely hardcore Democrat, like hardcore, man. But he always told me this, and I love talking to him because he was like an old school Democrat. He said Social Security was never meant to 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 keep you propped up for the rest of your life. It was meant to supplement what you already had saved up.
Yeah.
And he says, and the government knew that not everybody was going to be able to have money in a bank account and save money up for when they retired. So they
Right.
did Social Security to kind of help out a lot of people who maybe didn't have a big savings account. But it was never meant to completely sustain you after you retired. It was meant to supplement what you already had saved up, like really ease the tension of that.
Hmm.
And I really and when you research it, that's exactly what it was built for.
Absolutely.
So and so
Most of the
it's
kids
it's
now are not even educated on Social Security, so they don't even know they're supposed to get it or not supposed to get it. We don't even talk for it because they switched everything to you being an investor now. So it's like every time you talk to a guy on here, they say, "Oh, TB, because I invest." You're not an investor, bro. Shut up.
they don't even have they got Robinhood app on their phone. they just
Right.
they don't have,
You're not
they
an
have no
investor, man.
brokerage account, like nothing. There's
No
no mutual,
understanding.
but like they think that they're like a Wall Street Wolf of Wall
Yeah.
Street or something like that,
Yeah.
dude.
Because
Like
I'm
with their little
investing.
Robinhood account app on their phone, like
And it's
putting
like,
two hundred
bro,
dollars here, $500 in
that's going to do
whatever
it.
that chip
No,
company is.
it's
Well, this
not
is
going
the
to.
batteries that supplies the Tesla, like, bro, come on, man.
They're
Like,
gonna need these
dude,
copper
like,
connections in 20 years. No, bro, you don't. And
you're like,
even if you do, like my father has told me, and I have an uncle and I have a grandfather when he was alive. He said some games are too wicked for you to understand. It's not that you're stupid.
yeah, that's really good, dude. That's
He
good.
said
That's wisdom.
they're too wicked for you to understand. He said one thing you got to remember about the people with money. They realize that, which is all of us in this live, because people think when they get to $50,000, they're not poor. No, you're poor, bro.
Mhm.
If you have to work to eat, you're poor. So
Mhm.
he said they figured out poor people are honest. And the truth is the people with the chips in their hand, they're not honest. So even if you were to save this money and you did everything you were supposed to do right, and the company was supposed to give you a retirement, and everything's lined out, Enron, retirement's gone. Madoff, retirement's gone. Or I started working here 12 years ago at John Deere, and then now your job's in Mexico.
Mhm.
Or you coming out at 15 years ago and seeing all these DeVry commercials, you could have went and been a welder, had a good career, but they talked you into being a coder. What happened to them
Mhm.
the past 2 years? 300,000 people lost their job a year. So you never know
Mhm.
what's
Yeah.
going to happen. The best thing you possibly can do, especially as a truck driver, is live extremely modestly. That's the best thing you can do.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if the shit were to hit, if it was to hit the fan, you would be living so far under your means that you will be fine. When I go to a terminal, let's say Hornbacher or Prime, and I catch the playboys out there that have Hellcats and Range Rovers, why? Why, bro? Oh man, I mean, I gotta look good when I come home. So you're paying a. I know a guy who's paying $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month for a car, and he's OTR.
Never even uses it.
Never sees it. Just 1,000 a
Mhm.
month, and for
Puts
sure,
puts
$200-300 a
puts
month.
100 miles a month on there when he goes home for the 3 days or
And
whatever.
he looks good for those 3 days. He looks
Yeah.
phenomenal.
He doesn't even own it, the bank owns it. But I'll tell you this, man, because I listen to a lot of different financial people, and, I like Dave Ramsey, and I agree with a lot of what he says, and I disagree with some of what he says, and I mix up a lot of different financial people and just hear what different people say, but, you know, he was talking politics the other day, and I just want to say this. I think that who's in the White House and who's in the Senate, who controls the Supreme Court, all those things matter because they do institute laws and regulations and stuff like that. But it's less, and this is what Dave Ramsey said, and I feel like this was wisdom. He said, it's less about what goes on in the White House and more about what goes on in your house.
Mm,
What decisions are you making in your house? What sacrifices are you making in your house? What are you doing to set up, a family, to make sure your kids have an inheritance or something like that,
right.
or whatever. So it's less about what the government and I mean, we've all been hit by the economy this year, trucking especially. It's happened, it's been bad, but also what are you going to do about it? What am I what where's we have to take some, like, we can sit here and blame everybody else, and there's plenty of blame to go around across the board to everybody. But for me, I think where I'm at right now, because I've been really frustrated, man. I've been really frustrated with the whole political scene and
Hmm.
everything, dude. I've been really frustrated. But like at this point, I'm just like, well, what do I need to do to make sure that me and mine are okay when we get older? Because that's
Cut
all I'm
fat.
asking at this point. It's
Cut.
just like, bro, like what do I got to do? What do I have to? Whatever I got to do, man. I'm gonna do that to make sure,
Cut.
and I'm just gonna ignore all those other people.
Cut fat. Learn how to do your own shit. I'm looking into growing my own food. I mean, it's a mixture between doomsday preppers and people who live in Alaska
Yeah.
homesteading. Like you're gonna have to take
Yeah.
all of that in and figure out how am I gonna figure this out. The best word that I think I've learned is the alternative living. Thinking that
Alternative
you know
living.
what you're supposed to have, like, oh, you should have a house, you should be able to have a house, and you should have a trampoline in the backyard, and all those
Mhm.
things that you think means you're doing good in life, all of them are bullshit. They're
Mhm.
bullshit, bro.
Mhm.
Because the truth is, who's really out here buying houses right now, as of right now? And if
Yeah.
they are, they'll learn very shortly that it was a bad idea.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
think. I asked a dude one time. He was like, "Well, TB, you have to buy a house." I said, "Okay, yeah, but I buy a house, right? Yeah, takes 30 years to pay it off, right? Right? Yeah, I pay it off. I still owe the government." He says, "Yeah, and when I get really old, they're gonna put me in an old folks home, right?" He said, "Well, yeah, and an old folks home is what? I don't know. It's a rental.
Mhm.
You're going back to a rental anyway." So I asked him, "So why wouldn't I just keep renting if you're gonna put me in a rental
Mhm.
when I get delirious anyway, right? So why would I just keep renting?" And he didn't have an answer for it. He just said, "Well, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to buy a house." Well, that's not good advice. That's you just pushing on a tradition to me. That's not saying it's a good advice for what's going on right now. You
Mhm.
have to
And
determine what.
over the last couple of years, the housing has gone up to where, like, if you're looking at investments, a house is an investment that will go up. That's going to
Right.
attain value, and I mean, it's a. I'm not going to say it's because it's not easy to get a house
Mhm.
even anymore, but it's one way to have an asset that appreciates over time instead of a depreciate like a truck
Right.
or a
But
car or
what is
whatever,
that
like a
asset gonna
scooter.
do? What is the asset gonna do if no one can buy it?
Oh, right, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's always gonna be, yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Are you
it's
banking on the next generation of these people you see on TikTok? Are you banking on them being able to buy your house? Like, come on.
I'm not banking on them to do anything,
No,
bro.
they're not gonna do it, bro.
They're either, they're either hiding out in their basement eating dino nuggies or something like that, or they're watching Andrew Tate all the time, dude. It's like they're 2 extremes, bro.
Right.
Like
It's not gonna
they're either
happen,
with that
bro.
red pill stuff or they're
Yeah.
in there coding some TikTok video, eating dino nuggies or something, dude, with their mommy upstairs fixing french
Right.
fries or something. I
So
it's weird how the Generation Z has been so different, but were you
yeah.
ever an owner operator,
Yeah. I went and
TB?
I got my truck from the dealership, and I went. I never owner op. See, now we have to understand what is owner operator. Because if I
Mhm,
talk to the people where I'm from, you're not an owner operator until you have your own authority. Then there's people who say you're not an owner operator unless you own the truck. So
mhm.
which one are you saying?
We're talking about owning a truck.
Okay, owning a truck. Yeah, I've gotten a truck without the company. Yes, I've done the independent route where I have
Right,
my
yeah.
own truck. It comes out of my account. And what I realized
You
what I
had the
did.
title, it had a lien on the title that you were still like all that
Right,
kinda stuff.
right, right. 'Cause you still had to pay it off because I went through the
Right, yeah.
dealership. And what I learned was that with that truck, I got more a mile. I got more a mile, but there were less miles to be ran. Then I start running into the problem of if I leave Hornbacher, I don't have. I spend more time looking for freight than I do running it. So it's like um, when I was with Prime, there was no time I didn't have a load. Christmas loaded. When I leave here and I'm more independent, I got my own truck. I get 90% of the load. I'm gonna be. This is gonna be easy. And I call the people and they say, "Oh, we don't have any more loads." I was sitting for 3 days a week, just watching
Mhm.
the Swift guy go swoop, 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 swoop past me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, fuck that. I get 397 a mile, but I'm not running any miles. So I asked the guy. I was like, "Where are all the miles? Where?" He was like, "Oh, well, you just got to make relationships." Okay. So I told him, so I can go to someone else and bring it to you. You'll allow me to run it. And he's like, "Oh, it depends." And I was like, "Dude, this is too much bullshit, bro. Just give me a load, bro." And I had
Mhm,
brokers that would say, "I don't have a load for you, Bearded." And then I would call my buddy who worked at the same company and he's loaded.
mhm,
So I was like, I don't like this dynamic of I am not guaranteed to have a load. I didn't like it.
mhm.
Maybe if I had
It's
the
a lot of work. It's like you're dispatching yourself, like, you're trying to talk to these other people who are supposed to be giving you
right,
loads, but it's like you have to, like, almost I did a lot of, like, load board, and it was like I was doing 2 jobs. I was dispatching myself, on top of driving the truck, making sure all the other operational side was going good too, and
Right.
it's a lot.
Is that why you stopped?
No, man, I just, bro, I was living that rock star life, man. You know, I bought the house, bought the Harley Davidson, uh, and not I wasn't financially responsible. Just being honest about it, and I just ran out of capital, bro. That's really it. Just boiled down to me running out of capital. The market went down, and I was
Mhm.
like, bro, I'm just not gonna do this anymore. And I actually took a local job uh, here here where I live, where I was, like, making, nuclear bombs and stuff, dude, for real. Like, that's not a joke. I was really doing that. I had to get an NSA clearance and stuff like that, but it was paying,
Mm.
like, 60K a year, and I just felt like I left too much money on the trucking table, man. I was with a union and stuff. It was a federal contracted job,
Mm.
but it was just, like, I was only getting 40 hours a week, you know? I had a good hourly it was, like, 31 something an hour, but it was just like I was only getting 40 hours a week, and I needed to work more than that. I was, like, doing Uber too, so I'd wake up at, like, 2 in the morning, do Uber till 5 in the morning, then going to work at 6 in the morning.
Right.
So it was like I was trying to, like and I did all that just to kind of pay trying to pay the mortgage, man. Trying to pay the mortgage,
Yeah.
trying to pay the bills, and I'd owed a lot of money on my truck, so I had to get back into trucking,
So
and, came
how did it feel when you found out that the dock workers were getting 260 a year and they decided to strike?
bro, I mean, we can let's go ahead and get into that. So, I mean, so let's head on into that that segment, man. You know, you mentioned the dock strike and the union over there. So, kind of give us for people watching, give an up to date um what happened because the strike's over and everything.
It's
Give us
temporarily
from
over.
temporarily, well, yeah, they've verbally accepted and just go ahead and
Yeah.
you tell us from the beginning to where we're at today. Go through the kind of the
Uh,
whole
I
thing and give us
I
up
am
to date.
I am no expert on the strike, but they're on a temporary 90-day hold to keep stuff moving, and they're to give them time to keep negotiating. So what they did with that is I believe it's 62%. They accepted a 62% temporarily, and they're gonna keep on negotiating. If they don't get what they want, they can easily resume very quickly. They can just say, all right, well, nope, you can't give us what I want. They go on strike again. But what was fascinating about it to me was that when I was listening to the guy talk, some of these guys, not all of them, were getting 300,000, like the crane operator, getting $300,000 a year, and decided to strike. If they get everything they want, they'll be making 540 a year.
Half a million.
62% more out of 300. That will put them in the five category. So I don't wish none of them should get it. I'm not saying they shouldn't get their money. What I'm saying is I called my father and I said, if he woke up with $300,000 a year and thought we should strike, what the hell are we doing in trucking?
Yeah.
We're driving and
Well,
seeing maybe 80.
yeah. What's your thoughts on um what is your thoughts, you know, because I've heard different things too. What I kind of heard was like, yeah, the upper tiered union members were making like the 200 some to 180 to 200 some, but like the lower tier, like, because that's how those, like, I've been part of a lot of unions and I'm very pro union.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to work a union job because I don't like starting off at the bottom.
Right.
I like to come in at the bottom and then work really fast and be a rock star, get to the top and
Right.
be the dude. You know what I mean? But it's all about time whenever it's a union.
Seniority is what they look at.
Seniority, yeah.
Yeah.
What what I understood it was like guys were starting off at $22 an hour, and when you're on that northeast coast, like living on the coast
Mm-hmm.
up there, that's like $15 an hour here in Kansas City, man. That's
True.
pennies, dude. You cannot live off $22 an hour here in Kansas City where I live.
Right.
I can't imagine what that is up there in the
But see,
Northeast.
the reason why that something like that happens at a place like that, because those people usually bring their children. You can work for $22 an hour if your dad's been working there for 30 years and you still live at your dad's house. That's usually how they do it. That's why when you talk to people at coastal unions like that, and you'll ask a guy, "Hey, Joe, why aren't you in the union?" And he'll say, "You can't get in. You got to know somebody." That's because they
Mhm,
usually bring in their nephew, son, or whatever to come in. And then they say for the first 5 years, you're not going to make shit until you're finished with your apprenticeship. And their dad floats them until they get their apprenticeship done and then they start making better money. That's usually how it works. The
mhm,
problem for me, not with what they're getting, because hey man, if they can get it, get it. The question is, they woke up with $300,000 and said I should be striking. We're going to sleep with average trucker makes what 58,
mhm.
and we're
Probably, I don't know what it is.
average trucker is somewhere around 58 to $70,000, somewhere in there. If you're a rock star or you have a hazmat, you can see 90 pretty easily.
Mhm,
So why aren't we if we don't have to strike, why aren't we having a conversation about why we make so much little of money? If they go to sleep at 300 and think I need to strike, what the hell are we doing?
mhm. No, I agree, and here's where it comes because I wanna bring this up with you too. Um, Truckers, like, everybody's like, "Oh, if we just got," and we've heard this for years, bro, and I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
repeat it, bro, but we've heard it, is, "Well, if we got together and we just didn't run 2 days, we'd shut the country down." Like, well, I've
Yeah.
heard it, man, I've heard it 1,000 times, but
Right.
I think things just aren't bad enough yet, but they're going to be. If you look what Canada did, look what happened to Canadian truckers, man.
Mm-hmm.
The government came in and shut their bank accounts down, was how much of a threat they were. Now,
Yeah.
the Canadian truckers had to be a real big
Oh
threat
yeah.
for Trudeau to really come in
Oh
and
yeah.
shut their bank accounts down. Not only their bank accounts, but anybody trying to give to the truck to support the truckers, shut their it was just, and it just
It,
showed you what the government can do
it's ne-
if they wanna do it.
it's never gonna happen in America, bro. And
Well, so
I'm
go
gonna tell
ahead.
you why it's not gonna happen. If me and you can't get over our simple differences, we're never going to come together and strike against the machine. That's why the powers that be keep us in odds with each other. And
100%.
I'm being clean here. I told a guy the other
Mhm,
day, and he was having a very inappropriate conversation at work about color.
mhm,
And I guess he expected me to take a stance of being the opposite of him and going down that age old black white conversation. He wanted me to jump
mhm,
on in there, and I told him, I said, listen, I have more in common with a redneck than I do with a immigrant coming over from another country. And he
mhm,
said, that's impossible. And I said, it no, it's not. I'll give you I asked him simple questions. I said, you love Jesus? Well, yeah, I love Jesus. You got family that fought in the last 5 wars. Yeah. You like Golden Corral? Yeah. You like watching football? Yeah. Do you drive a domestic pickup truck? Yes. I have more in common than you. So why would we be arguing about nothing, which is what we're doing? We're arguing about nothing when we can band together and request more money. The reason why the unions will always get more money because they have the most dangerous word in the world, unity.
mhm.
Truckers don't even like each other, bro. How are we going to come? If we all came together to strike, we would be out there fighting each other.
Yeah, yeah, we would
It
be,
wouldn't
yeah.
work. Now, in Canada, I mean, they must love each other because they did it without a hitch.
I think I think this let me tell you what would unify this country
Hold on
like this.
1 second. Ford truck, screw Toyota. Keep going.
Well, I think what would unify if there was an outside threat
Yeah.
that came and attacked, you would see all this other stuff fall by the wayside. Nobody'd be talking about it. Nobody would care. Nobody,
Mm-mm.
And what they I think I agree with you 100%. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and meanwhile, they still try to think of different ways to utilize us against
We're
each other
angry.
to yeah, like, "Oh, yeah, he's got 2 pennies more than I've got my 1 penny,"
I'm angry
like,
with him.
yeah,
Hey,
I
we're at the
and
same
I'm not
Super Bowl.
and I wanna make this clear, I'm not against billionaires, and I'm a very pro-capitalist in a way,
Right.
I'm just very fair I'm very pro fair opportunity as well, though. It shouldn't just be all the opportunities and all that kinda stuff, but I think I maintain, and I wanna 'cause, like, I wanna go back to the union the port strike. A big thing that I felt like about this port strike was also the autonomy. They were automating a lot of, a whole port over there in California is completely
Mhm.
automated,
China too.
and in China, yeah, and then you got the little tech guys in there with their little remote controllers in there just going around watching everything, but the union said, "Stop it," and that was part of the contract, was like, "You are gonna stop automating jobs because, like, so many thousands of jobs have been cut
Yeah.
on the ports
Mhm.
because of this automation." The company continued to automate jobs
Yeah, they're
after
not
they
gonna
signed
stop.
the contract. After they so they broke the contract first, but the news media is not telling you that. Now, I know somebody that works for an automated company, a trucking automated trucking company. I know somebody
Uh-huh.
that works for one. And so I wanna talk to you. Do you feel like it will be as easy to automate the trucking industry as it has been for the ports?
No. No.
Agreed. I
No. It
agree.
won't be easy for for many reasons. Whether it, whether you would have to get every single shipper retrofitted to take the truck. You understand? Like you would have to
Mhm,
you have to do a major retrofitting. Yeah, you got to think every shipper, every consignee, every town, every city, every overpass would have to be retrofitted for this stuff to work. On top of that, politically, you would need
mhm,
another 2 generations of TikTok dance, mocha latte, soy boys to allow it to happen.
mhm,
So you at least have 20 years. So another 2 generations of, you know, soy boys scared to touch dirt wussies, then yeah, they can get it done. Because to be honest, they don't want to drive the truck anyway. So it won't be they'll be begging in 2 generations. Those 2 generations will be begging for it to be done.
yeah, please, we don't and they'll be begging for cars, like, young
Everything.
kids now, they don't even wanna drive, dude. It
They don't
used
even
to
get
be cool to
licenses.
drive, it used to be cool to drive to high school, you know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Like, you
god, that was
pull
great.
up and you had your song busting, dude, like, it
Right
was cool to and it's just like, kids just don't care about that now, man. They wanna
now,
know how many followers you have. They're
well
all about social media influence.
they want to talk about social change and hippy dippy lubby bullshit that doesn't actually fix a road. See, that's the
Mhm,
problem. We're more interested in made up. I'm trying to be very nice here. Made up
mhm.
social issues than we are where the rubber meets the road. Where the rubber
On
meets
stuff
the
that
road is
matters.
someone has to get in the ditch and dig it. Someone has to clean the septic tank. Someone has to get on the roof in Florida, even though they're a ginger and they're freaking burning. Someone has to do that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know. But the way they look at it is, that's not for me. They're not gonna do it. So actually, when they propose automation to that couple of more years, they're gonna love it, bro. They're gonna love it.
Mhm,
Right now,
mhm.
it's not gonna. They're gonna love it up into the point when they realize it was a bad idea, and by then it'll be too late. But you're not gonna stop automation. Automation is coming. There is no stopping it. It didn't. The candy man got screwed over by the vending machine. You didn't give a shit then.
Yeah. Well, here's I'm gonna go into my reasonings why I think automation in trucking won't be because let me tell I've talked to people and I know specifically the argument. They're good salespeople. Let me tell you this: those automated they're very good salespeople. Here's what they're saying: it's going to be safer than having a driver on the truck. Maybe, That's a good point. Maybe it will. They've got the lidar and all that stuff. They can see miles ahead or whatever. All that good stuff. They can, blah blah blah. Um, there's a big difference from the port to the trucking automation. The port automation, there's no motoring public around that. The public does not deal with the ports. The public deals with the roadway. So when you have the public having to deal with that now, and I say it this way too, I've rode on a plane a million and one times. A million, and you know what? They've got automation on those planes now. They can
Yeah.
get it up in the air, set it on autopilot. That's what autopilot, like
Yeah.
that's where that word came from. The
I
pilot, the
agree.
planes, so they can get that thing. But you know what? Let me tell you something. Before I board that plane, I always look in that cockpit for how many pilots they got on there. And if I don't ever see a pilot on there, you think I'm going to ride that plane with no pilot on there? You think I'm going to trust a computer when we're thousands of feet up in the air? No, man,
No.
I'm not, dude. Because there's all kinds of bad things that can happen.
But your
Turbulence, storms,
but
everything, man.
but your grandkid won't even know that someone ever could fly a plane. He'll think, "What,
That's a,
really?
that's a,
People
tr-
really
that's,
flew these?"
yeah. True, but I think the motoring public still has not reconciled the fact to a robot being on the roadways with them yet. The second thing politically I wanna say, it's gonna be a lot of red tape,
Oh my
and
God, yes.
any political party right now, right or left, any political party who says like, "Yes, we're gonna vote this to approve this," you're gonna be seen that political party is gonna be seen as somebody who killed jobs, who
Yeah.
hated, like, working people. You kill jobs, and the truck drivers is still the number 1 job. There are more truck drivers in the United States than any other job. Nurses,
Mhm.
you think about how many trucks are on the road, and I'm not
Yeah.
just talking OTR, like, millions of trucks, like, all over the road. It's still the number 1 job. That's a voting block. And I promise you, man, you kill thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs, it's a death sentence for that voting block. They're gonna be voting, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's true now.
now, yeah,
In two
exactly where we're at right
generations,
now.
in 2 generations, it'll be like, yo, I'm trying to get my freaking uh body changed, and I'm trying to
Yeah,
freaking float off to Pleasure Planet or something. They don't care. I mean, you talk to a kid who's younger now, and if you press them with these things, they'll just be like, they'll call you a boomer. Me and you aren't even boomers, but they'll call you a boomer. You don't
nah,
know what you're
dude.
talking about.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
understand that this is a way you pull yourself up from your bootstraps. You can come into this game. First of all, a CDL test is an eighth grade test. You can come into this job, no education. If you can get through that eighth grade test, you can make a livable wage. Dude,
Mhm.
when that is officially gone, or however they're going to try to get it gone, that is a major disservice. So somehow we would have to, right now, I don't think they can take it away, but 2 or 3 generations, maybe.
Do you
Maybe.
think they'll still need a driver in the truck, or do you think? Because like, what I heard was that in 10 years every truck driver is gonna be local or, like, regional out and back kinda thing. They're gonna have like, it's gonna be like the rail system. It's gonna be from point A to point B, OTR is gonna
Hmm.
be completely done for, and then you're gonna have a bunch of local, a bunch of regional. What I think they're gonna do, they're gonna use that as an excuse to cut back more pay. So,
Hmm.
like, even now, like, the company I work for had a local job here, and they were paying, like, 1,300.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, I'm not
Yeah. What
doing
are you
no
doing?
13 company
I'm
job,
not gonna. I'm
like,
not gonna.
bro, no,
I
you
could
know?
do porn for more than that. Why would I? Why would I? Why would I
Yeah,
do
I
that?
could
That makes no
sell
sense.
pictures of my feet, man, and
Right.
something
and,
like
and make
that,
it.
dude.
But
Like,
the
you
truth
know?
is, the onslaught of darling, the onslaught of corporate is, it's never going to stop pushing forward.
Yeah,
What they
yeah,
do
it's
is whenever they need money, they pull it out of the person that is the least represented inside of the boardroom. Who is that? Us. When they come up with something and saying, "Hey, man, we should charge them for $100 a week for the call com instead of 12," we're not there to say no. They
mhm,
think
mhm.
around, "Oh, really? Should we do that? Yeah, if you spread that over 4,000 trucks a week, how much money is that?" Like, we're not there for those. Who were you there when they switched to super singles? Well, were we there when they switched to snub noses? Were we there when they switched to cameras? You're not even involved in the conversation. So they're always going to keep pushing and getting more and more and more
And
and more.
here's what the companies do, and I say this for all the drivers watching right now, man. Anybody watching this now and anybody watching this in the future, man, know this. Here's what they do. They sell the stuff, all every new change that they bring in. This is to help the driver. Even the
Right.
automation. Here's how they sell automation. Well, now you get to be local and home with your family.
Mm. Bro.
You know what I mean? Camera, the AI cam like, at my company specifically, and I'm okay with my company, man. I know there's people my company watches this stuff. There might be somebody on right now on a Sunday night,
Oh, you should have had
watching me,
me
you
on
know?
here, bro.
Yeah,
Jesus
but let me tell
Christ.
you, hey, man, I've said everything I've said here before, man, on my channel. But here's what they do with the AI cameras, which was hilarious to me because nobody bought it. It was just so terrible. It was like the worst sales pitch you've ever heard. It was the AI cameras was like, "Oh, well, these are good because they're gonna coach you now." And so instead of the camera going off, it's gonna speak out and say like, "Oh, you're following too close. Oh, you need to put a seatbelt on. Oh, you need to do this." So it's gonna coach you so there's fewer camera incidents. You know what
Mm.
how many times that thing has coached me? The only time it ever says anything to me, bro, is whenever I'm driving around in a yard and I don't have my seatbelt on. Please fasten your seatbelt. Your seatbelt is not on. Like,
Oh
it's just like,
God, bro.
other than that, that thing goes off like this, dude. Every single time I hit the rumble strips, going off. Every time I'm doing this, it goes off. Like every time, like over anything, it's going off. It goes off more now than it's ever gone off. So
Yeah.
like none of that. The sales pitch was terrible.
It, it's just
And
about
here's
insurance, bro. That's what it that's
TB, I don't mind it. Like I'm used to it. Like it doesn't like the driver facing camera. I'm used to it now. It's like whatever. And I've driven with one for years now. But this is what here's all they had to say. Here's all the company had to say. This would have been the sales pitch. We know that this is going to be an inconvenience to maybe some of you drivers, but we're just asking that you give it a chance.
right.
That's all you had to say. Like, don't try to make it sound like this is for me. Like you're really trying to help me. Like I say, like we know this is, statistically this is going to help us with our safety record, and so we're asking that we know this can be an inconvenience for some of you, but it's going to help our safety record. So we're just asking that you just give it a chance. That's all
See,
we're
I
asking
wouldn't
for.
have a problem with it that, but really this camera shit is about the insurance company. If you put it
Oh
on,
yeah.
you get a cheaper rate. I wouldn't have a problem with that if you shared some of the wealth. If you said, "Hey man, you took this camera, so you get a $90 bump a week because you have this camera." Like if you did it that way, because we know you're pocketing the money from the insurance company for putting it on there. And listen, if
Hmm.
you're a good driver, a camera is a benefit to you. You get in
Sure.
that accident, it's just gonna absolve you just that easily.
Boom.
If you're a bad driver, it's gonna put the nails in your coffin. So you have to
Yeah.
make the decision: Are you a good driver? Or are you a bad one? Do you watch Netflix while you're driving down the street? If you're one of those guys, then it's not gonna help you out, right?
While you're going through Washington, DC or New York City, you got dude, I saw a guy one night, dude, it was 10 o'clock at night. We were going around Chicago. Dude had like a tablet, bro, stuck to the windshield watching the NBA finals, dude. I said, "Bro, put your house shoes on, man." You know, like, bro, you might as well,
The
you
balls,
know,
man.
dude, he had his foot cocked up there. You know how they put their foot up on like the door or whatever? He had his foot up there just relax. I was like, "Bro, he's on his 30-minute break going down the road, dude."
Yeah, just
You
chilling.
know, like, yeah,
Man,
man,
I'll
he
listen
just
to a podcast or something like that, but to be
oh,
outright
yeah.
just, you know,
Audiobooks, like all that stuff. I've got YouTube Premium. I can start a
cut it off
video and
and
listen
listen
to it,
to it.
yeah, and then listen to it and then have my maps up. Like I can do all that kind of stuff.
That makes
But
perfect sense.
yeah, but I mean, it's just it's do you think this would be a question because I've asked this before too, particularly about autonomous trucks. Who are they going to throw under the bus when that truck kills a family? Because it will happen.
Oh, well, I mean, the same people they throw under I mean, the company's gonna have to pay out money. But the problem is when that truck kills somebody, the company's gonna get sued and they're gonna get. But the truth is, if you keep 190 or $200 billion in payroll, you'll pay the $400,000. It won't mean anything. They already
Mhm,
worked the numbers out. If you get away with our payroll, then it's like you got the money to pay somebody $400,000 because you crushed their kid. Like, what the hell? That's not a big deal.
mhm, yeah,
And the truth is, We kill people
Yeah, we
all the
do. Yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
Trucking accidents happen all the time. They happen
Right.
all the time.
And will it slow down accidents? In theory, mathematically, yes.
Mhm,
But it's still gonna have stupid people that veer over and get hit by it. Like you just can't help it. Like I
mhm,
hate to say this, but four wheelers are terrible drivers.
mhm.
They want you to kill them. That's just how it looks sometimes. Like, dude, you want to die. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, you should know. You should be looking out for what I'm looking out for because you're a professional driver. That's bullshit. You also, they should give a little bit of training on people to watch out for a truck. I'll give you a perfect example. Something that can't maneuver very well is a train, and people get hit by them every year. And they go in one straight line, bro.
Yeah. You're not confused about where a train is, what it's doing, the direction it's going, or none of that stuff.
And people get killed by it every year, bro. Come on,
Mhm.
buddy. Like they put the thing down, the bells go off, and you still got hit by the train. You
But
can't.
they still have engineers though too on those
True.
trains, and those are fully automated too. So
I mean,
it's coming to a point for me. I just don't see a driver out of the truck at least for the next 10 years, and I don't see them being fully automated in 10 years. And but I think they're gonna. Here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna try to, like, make this seem like, "Oh, you know, this is for the driver." Now every driver gets to be home now, they get to be with their family,
hmm
more than what they've ever been able to, they get to have a better personal life. Meanwhile, wages go like this.
yeah, that's how they're gonna
And
keep it
and
out of the seat. They're just gonna
and they'll
start
be like,
promoting it.
"Well, what about all the jobs that come with the automation because they need people to monitor the trucks?" I'm like, "Dude, let me tell you what those jobs are. Those are $17 an hour jobs for somebody to sit in an air-conditioned office and just look at a
hmm
computer screen and get paid 17 bucks an
And
hour
that's
to do
not
it."
a trucker, because let's be
And that's
real.
not a livable
Yeah,
wage. It's gonna be like a tech like a call center job, a
yeah,
non-educated person, like, with no like, 0 like, very few skills who can and I love call center people. More
yeah,
power to you. I love you. I love everybody that's trying to make a check right now, trying to keep their head, but I love you. But I'm just saying, like, they're gonna replace our job, which is a livable wage, for somebody that's, like, a not livable wage, you know?
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
that's what they're gonna do.
and
And
it's
the
and it's
company keeps all the money, by the way, like,
and it's not for a driver. Nothing that is white collar is for a driver. They're not
no.
bringing you into the office to look at a screen. Get out of here. They don't even let you come into the front of the building. So that that's not going to happen.
It's like at the like, you've seen I remember at Trans Am, dude, like, they have, like, the plexiglass, bro. Everything's walled off, and there's
Yeah.
a plexiglass. Because I bought
And
my
you
truck
behind
from
there.
Trans Am, dude, and I had to go in there, and I was like, "Hey," like, and they're like, "Do you have an appointment to talk with somebody?" And I'm like,
Right.
Dude, I'm buying a truck from you guys." Like, and they're like, "Oh, oh," and then everything changed when they found out I
Oh yeah,
wasn't just a
quick.
company
Oh,
driver there.
you're
Like, it's
not
like,
one of
"Oh,
those
you're"
animals want to
yeah,
separate,
yeah,
bro.
like,
And they have glass up like y'all are freaking gorillas, and all the good white
bulletproof
collar people
glass.
can see you.
Like,
And your bathroom's in the back, but it's in the driver lounge. Get out
oh,
of
yeah,
here,
man.
bro.
Yeah,
You
dude.
don't want. You know how many shippers I've been to that's just like, we don't have bathrooms for you, but I want you to stay overnight.
Yeah. We'll take 8 hours to unload you, but there's no bathroom on
But
site.
there's no
Yeah,
bathrooms there for you.
yeah, like, okay, like,
So they're not going to bring you into the office, but like I tell them, they say, well, what are we going to do in the future? The truth is, who knows? No one can see that far in the future, bro. No one can see
well,
that far.
and here's what I wanna say when it comes to this. We've seen industrial revolutions happen before, and that's what we're coming into. We're coming into another industrial revolution. But here's what follows an industrial revolution, a real revolution, where people say, like, "Nope, you're not going to get away with this," screwing everybody over, and you're going to see this huge turmoil that happens when with every industrial revolution there comes another revolution, like a real revolution.
Yeah,
So you're going to see a lot of people get upset, but
you
I
have to
just don't
share it,
think
man.
yeah, where you're gonna see people where the middle class just keeps going like this, get smaller, smaller, smaller. I mean, to be honest with you, for the poor people, there's plenty of government programs to help them out.
Absolutely.
Like, there's always being laws passed for this and for that,
Mm-hmm.
for food
Food
stamps, for this
stamps, and
stamp, for government housing, for
we're
this,
not
for that.
eligible for none of
The
that.
middle class continue to pay taxes, get 0 government benefits,
Mm-hmm.
and just continue to get press, 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 and that's why they pay the majority of taxes, man. It's always
Yeah.
the middle class, dude.
It's
I mean, you
always
tell
gonna be
me
the middle
somebody
class
like
that buys all the shit that everybody needs to be bought. It's always gonna be us.
always gonna be them, always gonna be paying Uncle Sam, the state, federal taxes, like, and for me, it's like people like don't believe you when you say that. Like they're like, "Oh no, man, these companies are paying." I'm like, bro, Uber reports a loss to the IRS every year.
That's
Do
crazy.
you really think Uber's losing money every year? Do you really think Amazon reported losses for like what was it, like 9 years?
Yeah,
Amazon?
long
Like,
time.
do you really think they're not making any money over there? Do you really think Jeff
Mm.
is hurting over there? Do you really think he
Buying
is?
yachts.
I'm not against that guy. I think he's creative. I think he was an entrepreneur. He took
Oh
that
yeah.
business to another level. He should be rewarded for that. 100%. That being said, man, like, you cannot continue to just suppress down other people in the middle class, and while we just get smaller, 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 it will come to a point when people are like, "Enough's enough, man."
Oh
And
yeah.
there'll need to be a system reset, and even now you're seeing that. The old oligarchs that ran this country, BlackRock, Blackstone, all those kinda stuff like that, man, those companies like that, those shell companies, those kinds of you're seeing those people being replaced with people like Elon Musk,
Mhm.
Mark Zuckerberg, and so the argument is like, well, are you going to replace these oligarchs for these oligarchs? And where I'm at with it right now, I'm like, I'm willing to roll the dice on it right now.
Oh, I
I
mean, the
am.
truth
I'm
is,
I'm willing to
you
roll the dice and say like,
you're
well, let's try these new guys out.
well,
You
you're
know,
gonna
like
roll you're gonna roll the dice because we have no choice at this
well,
point.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it,
do you
I mean,
think they're going to be better? Do you think they're going to be worse? And I'm like, I
they're
think
gonna
they'll
be
be
they're,
better for right now. It'll be a change of
no,
power.
absolutely not. They're gonna be way worse. And let
You
me tell
think
you
they'll be
why.
way worse than
The re-
the old?
the reason why they will be way worse because they have the technology to be way worse. Henry Ford could only do so much, bro. How's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Like these people can track this. Your phone knows that you like freaking yellow liquid drinks, and when you open your phone, it's gonna be lemonade and all of it. Dude, they know, bro. It's not. I do this thing where sometimes I'll say, oh, I'm gonna make an AI thumbnail, and
Mhm.
I'll put the video in, and it'll give me like a title and everything, and it'll listen to the video and spit the title out at me.
Really?
Or I'll be in the car with my wife, and I'll say, "Man, I haven't had ribs in a long time." And then when I go to my email, there's like coupons for Chili's.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're listening to you, man.
They
They're
they
listening to you.
this is the biggest question I have with automation. Once you automate everything, right? Who's gonna buy the product? Which is the cardinal problem with AI. If you take all the jobs with AI and we can produce all this stuff super quick with AI, yeah, who's gonna buy the shit? No
Mhm.
one has a job. So that's where it
Yeah.
kind of you're starting to take away the people that are giving you the money. Well, we already know that. Look at the entertainment industry. People are not going to concerts anymore because they don't have the money. So AI
Mhm.
keeps taking jobs and taking jobs. Eventually, it'll take so many jobs that there'll be nobody there to buy any of the stuff. So that's where I think no one ever answers that question. If we AI everything, who's gonna buy the stuff?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think also to add to that point as well is, you know, Bernie Sanders has said this, and I'm politically, I'm all over the place because
Okay.
I know I've been sounding more on the left on this side of things tonight in this conversation, but I'm on the right on a lot of things too, man. I'm pro-capitalist, and I'm not for Bernie Sanders on everything. But he does bring up some good points, and he did say this. He said, industrially, we are performing better than we've ever performed. We're manufacturing more than we've ever manufactured because of machinery, and people are working like all this other stuff. Like we're putting out more products now than we've ever done before in the history of the United States. But yet the wage gaps continue to get larger, 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 and larger. So profits have gone up, wages have, due to inflation and everything else, gone down, and the wage gap continues. So why is that? And so like that's a really good point. And it's like I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not saying like all trucking companies need to give everybody a $10 million raise right out of the gate because trucking companies are hurting too. So where's all this money going? Because like there's so many trucking companies closing down. If trucking companies were doing really good right now, like
Hmm.
and they were just refusing to squeeze out like raises for everybody. I don't think that's happening because they're closing down. They're
Yeah.
dissipating, they're going down. Things are bad for them too. Like it's not looking good. And so like I'm just kind of like wondering, I'm like, where's it all going, man? Where is it all going? And it's just like, and I've kind of been for like um, on the Republican side of things, like, you got people like John Deere and GM and Ford and all these other people like, well, we're going to move our plants down in Mexico and we can make, and that's cheaper for the consumer. Well, who's going to consume the product if you're like, if all these
Nobody's
jobs are
making
just
money.
leaving? And so, like, for me, I'm just kind of like, no, you want to take your factory down in Mexico? You want to take your factory over to some other like India or wherever you want to go manufacture John Deere products or whatever?
Right.
Let me tell you something. You want to relocate? That's fine, but we're going to tax you. We're going to penalize you. We're
Yep.
going to make you suffer for it. You're going to be bleeding. You're going to,
Yeah.
it would have been 10 times cheaper for you just to build it here and pay fair wages. And you know what? Let me just tell you this. The United States, we're like, oh, well, we're just going to hinder everything. We're going to hinder jobs and they're just going to move, da 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 da. And everybody gets all scared. Every other Western country does it, man.
Oh yeah.
You ever see Volvo moving out or Swedish car companies moving somewhere else? No, because they're like, listen, you want to take those jobs somewhere else? You want to go do business somewhere else and just have your little white collar jobs here in our country? No, not going to happen. We're going to penalize you. You
Yeah.
ever see a Chevy plant in Berlin or any other where place in Germany? No, man, because they're like, this is like Mercedes, this is BMW, this is
Hmm.
Volkswagen, like this is our standard car. We're proud to do this here. And so like you don't see those car companies like no other country lets other car companies come in here and just start like what America does. And I'm all about free trade, but I'm all about like pro American products too. And I think John Deere, like we need to start like the government. Don't ever underestimate the long arm of the U.S. government. And I think we need to be bold with it. And that's where I'm very
Yeah.
Republican. You wanna take it outside, that's fine, but we're gonna tax you, bro. We're gonna put tariffs on you and
Yeah.
penalize you for doing that.
And
But you
and the
go ahead and try
American
it.
the American person needs to be more educated about where their dollar supports, meaning you need to show your disdain at the cash register. If that you need to
Mhm.
know the thing you like to buy, you need to know that company's politics and what they do with their money. And after a while, you need to say, well, you know what? I'm not buying that John Deere if you're going to screw over the farmers. Or I don't even want your John Deere
Mhm.
hat. I don't want your John Deere jacket. I know dudes like to when you go out. I'm from Virginia. You get to the western part of Virginia. They're up there. They have the tight jeans or boots. And they're like John Deere hat. You're gonna
And
stop
I
buying
lived in
that shit,
Mississippi, man. I lived
right?
in Mississippi, bro.
And they're
The
having
big Carhartt cat coat with the camouflage coat with the John Deere hat, man, was the style, man.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where you have to choose. You have to choose. So if you're supporting it, you can't be mad if you're buying. I gotta tell people all the time, you can't be mad if you're buying and paying these people. You support. No, I don't support it. You can't buy it and not support it. You're giving them the money to do it. So you have to use your wallet. I don't agree with that. I'm not giving no money towards that. That's the best
Yeah,
way to
I'm not
do it.
with you. I'm not with you.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
not with
with you,
you.
man.
I
Yeah.
don't agree. So if if you're used to buying something that you think is made in America and they move it, stop buying it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
that's the best way to get that done. And I'm not gonna hold you on here all night because I can ramble on forever about this. But um, that's what I think we need to do. And I think more of this needs to be involved where people actually talk and have a good conversation like we're doing here because enough of this is not done in our area. And that's why people most of the time they get on here and it's just usually something crazy and super duper negative. But this was a good conversation about what do you want to be? What kind of place do you want to be living in 20 years? That's the question we need to be having to talk about. Not if Peterbilt's better than Kenworth or something like
Yeah, 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 yeah,
that.
man.
Conversation is it's not going to help you.
Yeah. Mr.
Yeah.
Tacos Trucking, thanks for the super chat, man. No, dude, and I think, I know a lot of people think that, I'm a sellout. Everybody accuses you of it. You know how it is on YouTube and social
Oh
media,
yeah,
man. But I do care about truck drivers, and I do care about working class people, and I care about the middle class. And one thing in this election, I'm glad, whether it be fake, I think a lot of it's fake, but
hmm
I'm glad the middle class are at least being mentioned now in this
right,
in the election. At least they're being mentioned, dude. And I think if push came to shove, the truckers up in Canada, and I think the truckers here in America, if they were pushed far enough, and they were and there was an oppressive state like what happened up in Canada, I think the American truckers would respond just the same. I think they would be like, "You know what, man? Enough's enough, dude. We're done. I'm tired of this." And I think what happened in Canada could happen down here if it was pushed to the edge. And a lot of people are just leaving, but there's a lot of people, man, it's like, "No, dude, this is what I do. I don't
yeah,
know how I can't do anything else. This is what I do." And it's like whether it's in your blood or whatever you wanna
right.
call it, but I'm gonna make it this is what I do, man. I
I
drive the truck, man, and I take it from point A to point B, and I provide a living for people that I love, and that's what I'm gonna continue to do. So,
yeah,
truck driver pay, you think it's gonna go up ever? Do you think whenever the
somewhat.
market goes back up, do you think there's gonna be an
Yeah,
incremental raise, or what do you think about that?
I think there's gonna be a major raise. How it's gonna happen is a few companies are gonna do it, and everybody's gonna lose their driver to those companies, and then everybody's gonna be forced to go up. We don't know what
Mhm.
company's gonna do it first, but it is what it is. That's how it works. So if
Yeah.
if Prime said screw it, I'm going to 75 cents a mile, everybody be like, oh, they're crazy until Prime gets stacked with drivers and you can't, you know, service your contracts. Then I think people are going to follow suit and it's going to go up. Hope. And
Mhm.
my thing is, what other thought process do we have? You have to have some hope. It's going to go
Yeah,
up.
dude. Yeah, man. I think one way or the other, man, we're gonna come through this. This is a
Yeah.
bad time, man. And for the guys who are just getting into the market, you're lucky. You're lucky if you're just coming in trucking just now because you don't know what the good times were, man. You don't know what it was like to live in the good times. So you're coming in bad times and you're still making decent pay or whatever, and you're making a decent and what they told you you're gonna make is good enough for you. You're doing okay. I think you're gonna be fine for those overtime trucking. Thanks for the compliment and thanks for the super chat, man. A lot of first timer super chat, so appreciate that. But I think for me, man, I think there's going to be a wage increase. I think it'll just have to we'll have to see the market go up, and we'll just have to see the market go up, man. We're basing everything on the market right now, and the demand for product is gonna have to go up. And right now, man, people are pinching pennies just to put gas in their car and to
Yeah.
buy a couple bananas and to buy, just to put food on the table, pay their mortgage, and not have to sell their house. And my heart goes out to a lot of people, but I mean, I'm thankful, man, to have a job where I'm still making paying the bills. I've had to sell my house and there were many circumstances that went into that, and I've had to sell my truck, and financially, I was bad. I was like, I was at a point, man, when I closed my house down, I thought that I was just gonna have to live out of the truck for a couple months and just be like, I just need to recoup, and
Right.
I've done that before. And I'm thankful that didn't have to do that. I was able to get this apartment. I live in a nice apartment. I could have got a crappy apartment, but I
hmm
wanted my son to come where it was safe, where I was like, "Okay,
Right.
I'm not gonna have to be looking over my shoulder every weekend where my son's at?" So I live in a
hmm
very nice apartment, the down payment and all that stuff, and I was able to come up with the funds to do that, and I'm doing great now, and I've
That's
paid off
great.
all my debt. I'm completely debt free, and I'm saving money and all that, living well. I drive a 2014 Ford Escape, that's paid for, and,
Ford. Thank you. I'm not
so
gonna lie. I was like, this guy looks like a Tacoma guy. I don't know why. I just
oh, bro, I'd be a forerunner if I got a Toyota, man. But I do like Toyotas, though, man. I do like Toyotas, but
yeah,
I'll drive anything that runs. But I think we're gonna come through this. I think the market
I
will go
do.
back
I
up,
agree.
and I think people when the stress kind of eases off and the trucking companies are back to like making money again, and
Yeah.
rates go up and
That's
negotiations go up. We'll see a pay jump and everything will be good, man. There's
if you're
always hope, man. There's
if you're
always hope.
really about this, you'll go through the bad times, man. You will. You'll go through if you're really about this, you go through the bad times. If you're in here thinking this was going to be a money grab, you'll move on. But like I said, the next leg for my what's going to be going on my channel is I'm just getting back to just long distance driving. I tried local, hated it, and I just want to get back to being feeling the happiness when I see a load going somewhere I want to go. I want to get back to that. I
Mhm.
want to get back
Yeah.
to running across my favorite truck stop. Get back to trying different foods. I want to get back to just enjoying my job because when I came
Mhm.
home, my job turned into work, and it never felt like that before. And it's like I just want to get back to slapping it on cruise control and just living the dream,
Listening
man.
to your podcast, man, listening to audiobooks, listening to what you learning about what you wanna learn about and not having dude, yeah, I know, man. Yeah, dude, I know what you're saying, man. And
Yeah.
but TB, man, it has been awesome having you on here, guys. Listen, guys, I have 2 vlogs coming out. Big announcement on Tuesday. Do not miss Tuesday's vlog or Thursday's vlog. You'll probably want to watch Thursday, but Tuesday's vlog, 2:30 p.m. Central Time. Don't miss them, guys. I promise you, you do not want to miss. I've got big news coming up on Tuesday that you don't want to miss. I promise you. Promise you. TB, check
Mhm.
him out. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. He's on Rumble. He's on. He's got a lot of things. But go to his YouTube channel. He has a list of his socials on there. I've pinned his
Mhm.
comment. So, TB, thanks for coming on here, man. It's been great. I knew it was going to be a
Oh.
good conversation, man. When we were messaging back and forth over Instagram, and we were talking
Mhm.
about the different questions we want to go over, talking points.
Mhm.
I'm really glad you came on here, man. And
No
it's hard to
problem.
get people to come on here. I've asked a lot of different people to do podcasts, and not if they're one subscriber more than me, they usually say no. So like, like if they have 22.2 or whatever,
Yeah.
subscribers on, then they're like, oh no, I'm too big
They're,
for you,
they
But
think they're
you
famous,
came on.
man. It's
Yeah,
not
dude,
that
I
serious.
know, man. I know, man. So, but
Whenever
I
you want to
appreciate you
do it,
coming on.
I'm totally willing to do it. I appreciate you so much, and I will. I'll be out here, so I may run into you. Who knows? And I thank y'all for listening to me, man. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Have a good one. Love God, love family, work hard, stay dangerous. Wild Beard out.